Hello and welcome to the Permaculture Vine podcast. I'm your host, Cormac Harkin, and today we have a special live inside the Thai community. And our first guest is Brandon Cooper. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. And hello.
Yeah, and for those who are catching this recording later, so we're inside the Thai community. So the Thai community is basically you'll find support resources, activities, live events. They have a community, and their focus is on food, water, shelter, surplus. And I'll just show the link there in the description. It's thaicommunities.org. If you go in there, and you'll find I have a page in there. There's other pages, there's courses. It's a great community. They're really focused on families and basically solutions orientated. So we get on the show. Brandon, thank you very much for agreeing to come on. Do you want to just give us a quick 30-second introduction there, please?
All right, 30 seconds. Well, yeah, I'd say I'm in the midst of trying to synthesize what I've started the last 7 years, 8 years, and see how to best go into the future. So my wife and I basically we're homesteaders. We live on a multi-generational family farm, and I have a permaculture design and install business. And where I can't do so much of the popular permaculture style things, I focus on planting and helping people to have healthy ecosystems that are mostly native and productive, beautiful landscapes. Other than that, we homestead. We have 2 children and one more on the way in a couple weeks. And yeah, it's just been it's been an amazing journey and transformation in our own lives, really being able to see how abundant life can be when you start producing, and all of the ups and downs that come along with that, with animals and plants. So love talking about all of it. So
Great stuff. Well, firstly, congratulations. I hope everything goes well, goes okay.
Thank you.
And do you want to just take us back to the start? How did you first hear about permaculture? Was it after the landscaping? How did it all come into play?
I was actually asking because you asked me the other day, and I had to ask my wife. Like, I'm not sure if I really remember exactly, because I know I took my permaculture design course when my daughter, I think just before she was born or just after. She's 6.5 now. But I did that with the intention of having that as my focus for the business. So I think a few years before that, I started looking into it. I don't know what sparked the conversations there, and it was with somebody or something came across YouTube. I really can't remember, but I do recall thinking permaculture just meant growing food in random places and trying to have this abundance. So I remember doing all sorts of silly things like burying onion bulbs in random places that I never remembered or never got a harvest. and then, now it's just a world away from where we are now. We spent 1 full year living off grid in the Green Mountain National Forest in Vermont. We had developed some good friendships up there, and we decided to go up there and take this opportunity to live on the side of a mountain. And we were looking to homestead down there or up there. And everything kind of just didn't seem to be showing that we should stay there. The opportunities that we had, just especially my wife got pregnant with our first child. I said, no surprise there, living off grid in a cabin. I don't think anybody was surprised that we came back with a baby. you know, we actually came down to caretake a family farm in Pennsylvania, and that's when I started the business. And we actually, that first year we raised 800 meat chickens, and so that's when I started the farm business. I operate, a few different businesses, pretty much all under the umbrella Cooper Mountain Contracting. So yeah, I took a visit down to Joel Salatin's farm just before that. Came back and said, "All right, we're going to do it. We're going to do chickens." That was a great learning experience, and we've been doing it ever since. We're actually going to be processing meat chickens this Friday and Saturday. A lot less than 800 like we used to, mostly just to sell a little bit and to stock our freezers for our family and give some away. And a lot of just other education, a lot of on the job education as well. My permaculture design teacher knew I wanted to do it as a business, and he had just designed a property, and they needed somebody to install it. So that was my first job. And it's amazing to go back there 7 years later and to see all of the change that's happened there, all the production and the abundance in this suburban yard. And a lot of the issues that were prevalent then have changed and morphed. And I really enjoy taking new employees over there and say, this is my favorite place to go, because there's always excuse me, there's always food and there's always something to see.
So let's get into that a bit more. So if we take it from, say, your PDC, where did you do your PDC?
So that was 100 Fruit Farms with Adam Dewson.
And do you want to just let us know what that was like? Was it 2-week residential, online?
No, that was a multiple Saturday, Sunday class over the course of, I think it was like end of winter into spring. And I don't remember how many sessions. It was a lot, a couple months worth.
And so at this time, you're still on, are you in Pennsylvania or Vermont at this stage?
Yeah, I was in Pennsylvania.
So you're in Pennsylvania, you're working the farm, you're doing a PDC. How's things change as you're doing the PDC on the farm? Are you changing things as you go, as you learn?
I didn't have as much knowledge or ability to change as much, but we did apply a couple changes where I could, especially to the vegetable garden. Put down a lot of, I mean, it was just a yard before, but we had it fenced in, and then we laid down a lot of composted manure to the topsoil. We tilled that in, and then we sheet mulched the whole thing. And it really just saw everything worked so well. Very little weeding and just a lot of abundance. Oh yeah, we put in wine cap mushrooms into the wood chips when we mulched. So it was really cool. Sad to say, I actually had something delivered by mistake to that property at the beginning of this summer, and just goes to show how you never know how things are going to change when you leave a place. And there was actually a couple who owned a landscape company, and they saw this fenced in area, and they covered it in plastic and put in a bunch of raised beds that I think they just filled with topsoil. And I was like, hey, you know how like really rich and nutrient dense that was really cool. To me, it was just kind of, I was a little sad to see that, because to me it was there's a lot less productive space in that garden. So yeah, then along the way, well, I guess I had answered the first question. That's sort of how that started on that property. And then we moved to the back to the family farm where my wife grew up, where my children are now being raised. And that the transformation here has really been incredible. Um,
So where are you now? You're in New Jersey now, is it?
so we're in New Jersey, 10 minutes away from Pennsylvania, right on the border. Um, Central New Jersey, Delaware River Valley.
Right. And so I'm just trying to tie in the PDC and what you were learning on the farm and sort of try and share. Was there any big shifts in your thinking, or were you always like that way inclined to sort of stay away from the traditional farming route of fertilizers? And what made you go down the permaculture route?
Yeah, so I guess when we were in Vermont, um, we had some electricity in the off-grid cabin, and we had a mini fridge. So we had to be very selective about what we kept for food and what we made. And we also got in touch with some people who encouraged us to do a particular kind of fast where we were avoiding basically added sugars and processed food. Um, and I think we were, I don't even know if we were eating meat during that fast or not, but uh, that made a big change in our diet, and we realized, wow, we feel a lot better, we're healthier. I mean, that was also, we were really in our prime. We were hiking up and down the mountain multiple times a day, and we were really fit. You should have seen how beefy my dog looked. um but we couldn't keep a lot of meat either, which at the same time was kind of interesting because you're really in the middle of the back country, pretty much there, like right on the edge of it. And we had bear and moose, and um, we would keep some meat outside in the wintertime because it's super cold out. Um, so anyway, then when we came back, we just were more encouraged to try to think more outside the box. We had like this wake up call that um, we could be doing things a lot smarter. And so we were just always trying to figure out how to, I guess, address that sort of anxiety we always felt about something feels off about life in the modern world. What exactly is that? And where's our place in all of this? I would say that was the biggest thing. So yeah, the PDC helped with that, and all the other experiences. Um, a carpenter took me on, and I was learning more about building with him, and he gave me an opportunity to build some hugelkultur beds for him. So built a bunch of those, and again, 7 years later, looking at the production over there, it's really cool.
So then, um, so you're lucky then. You finishing your PDC, you got a chance to do the install. And were you landscaping at this stage, or were you farming, or both?
That was the beginning of my landscaping. That was really my first big job, and I was very nervous, and it was a big job, a lot of money, a lot of tasks, and now I look back at it and it's like I do that kind of stuff all the time now, and it's just nothing. Like I really don't. I was stressed out about that. And made a lot of decisions that I wouldn't have made now in regards to how I went about sourcing things, and just didn't have all the connections on and the knowledge on how to do things right the first time. Um, so there were some things I definitely would have done differently, like had a plan for what to do when we occupied a bunch of space with mulch, which essentially turned into stilt grass within a few years. So in trying to take up yard space, then it got overgrown by an invasive species. Um, so different things like that, lessons learned on a client's property, which, I want to avoid doing those types of things, like I don't want to make mistakes, and I especially don't want to make mistakes on somebody else's property. Nothing makes me feel worse um, about myself than doing something like that. It's like, oh, if I break one of my things, it's just my stuff. But if I break your stuff, then it feels real guilty. So always just like in debt, and a lot of gratitude to those clients. But we still have a very good relationship, and
So what did you do? So you mulched the area and never planted it, and then the grass came. Is that what happened?
We put some trees in around there, but that's what the design called for. And I would also say, at that time, the designer, he wasn't new to it, but I know he's changed the way he's done his designs as well. So I was just sort of going off of, hey, this is what the plan calls for. We're going to install the plan. I didn't have the foresight to really picture what the succession was going to look like. Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. It's good to see it too from an install point of view. It's a good learning experience that you actually get your hands straight after a PDC, and then working with another designer's plans.
Yeah.
And was that right? So do you do design work now as well? And so the landscaping business. So after your first job, how did that take off then?
Yeah. So I did stay in the building trade for a while as I built up the landscape business, and then I tapered off the meat production. Just you really have to scale up and have a lot more offerings to make that profitable, and landscaping design and install was a lot more profitable, and I think I'm able to help a lot more people that way also. So yeah, slowly opportunities arose, word of mouth mostly. I also worked with this company called ThriveLot. So they're a national brand that basically takes permaculture design installers and pairs them with people who are looking to have a permaculture design installed. They really helped me grow my business. Those guys have been really great. If you're a foodscaper or designer, I highly recommend them. They have really helped me to make sure that I'm finding the customers that really are looking for what I want to be staying, to be doing. So I actually thought they were a scam at first because they found me when they were basically a brand new company, and I ignored them. And then finally I got back to them, and I'm going out to prune a bunch of trees tomorrow for probably one of my very first clients from them. Again, multi-year relationships with a lot of these people, and you just never know what you're going to find. But they're really good at connecting the people together too, on a practical side if you're in this for business. So that I got a lot of experience with that, and so along the way I was able to test out a lot of different things, and kind of developed a better eye for what works, what doesn't work, plant wise, what looks nice. And then I started to branch more into also trying to grab the person who's looking for aesthetical landscaping, and now I have opportunities to say, hey, you know what, we can get more production in your yard. You have a young family. How about we grow you guys some food? How about we, convert some of this lawn space and at least have more pollinators? And that's been the transition. So that's pretty much where I am now. Now we're just focused on trying to get more work and expand the business. I said, one of my business goals initially was to kind of redefine the way that people think about landscaping and landscape companies. It's a rather lofty goal, I realize now, but
Please share it.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it's happening. I don't know what I thought it was going to look like several years later, but we're still here and making waves.
Great stuff. And then you're a homesteader as well. How
Yes.
does that work out with the landscaping business? You mustn't get much time.
Means I'm always outside and the family's always busy. Um, the chickens right now, they are pretty big Cornish cross chickens. By the time they're 8 weeks old, they're ready for slaughter. So they're actually by the time we slaughter them, close to 9 weeks at the end of this week. And so my father-in-law and I are out there in the morning moving the birds, and they don't want to move as much now. So we're just out there trying to, come on, guys, move along. Then we walk past peach tree that's dropping a bunch of peaches, go gather a bunch of them in my shirt. I bring them in, set them on the counter, and I ask my pregnant wife, I'm like, do you have any ideas on what we could do with these? And she's like, oh. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll make them into something and throw them in a bag and put them in the freezer, or the kids will eat them, whatever. That's just sort of how it is. There's so much going on, especially from trying to take things from a permaculture perspective here, and help influence the landscape. It was a horse farm, and we've been able to take the field that was getting compressed and eroded, excuse me, and help move the horses differently on the property and just steward the land better so that there's more forage available for them, more pasture space. And, the chickens help with that. We've got sheep out there. We, yeah. So as homesteaders, I mean, a friend of mine said homesteading, how he defines it, is producing something that rather than consuming it. And that's a pretty low bar. And I like that. He was saying you could start to homestead just by going out to the grocery store, buying a gallon or two of milk and making it into yogurt in your Instant Pot. And now you have an abundance of it. It's cheaper than buying yogurt, and maybe now you can give some away or sell it, encourage other people to do it. So there are things I would have done differently if this was my property, and if I could make a bunch of changes, I would, like having the chicken coop being in a different location. That would really affect a lot of change. That then I would be able to have a staged compost closer and really make things more productive. But I guess that's one of the challenges, using the infrastructure that exists and not being the owner of the land. Also, I'm the son-in-law, so our relationship is really good. However, and they've been very supportive of everything, and they're seeing the fruits of it. When we moved back here 3 years ago, um, I asked them for a piece of the yard to plant a food forest, and we have probably 80 different species of food and pollinators and herbs and stuff in there. Probably maybe more. I haven't counted in a while. But the production is just amazing. But it creates work. And I view it as thinking about how I would tweak things or what I wish I did differently. But then we have people come over and see it, and they're just amazed at how much is going on and how much we're able to do. And that's where I say the value in the multi-generational family property really shines through. Building community and making memories. Ultimately, the family has to come first.
Yeah, well, that's very important. So do you use your food forest as a nursery then? Do you develop nursery stock from the property for your business?
I tinker with propagation, but no, I'd rather support the network that I have. Um, to me, it maybe given a little bit more time, we would do that, but no, there's not a whole lot of propagation going on here. I have a little bit, but that's no.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught the four sort of pillars of self sufficiency that TIAG talk about is food, water, shelter, and surplus. How are you fixed on them four?
Well, food, I was talking with friends who we didn't raise any pork this year. No pigs on the property this year. We have in the past. Um, I was talking with a friend who raises beef. We don't do cows because there's horses, and my mother-in-law would not have horses and cows together. But it might be a little too much for what the property can manage at this point. And they're both of my friends are very open to trading meat, so there's abundant food. Yeah, lots of fruit. Hazelnuts are coming in. No-till gardens. Got sweet potatoes. Broccoli did great this year. So there's food. The water situation. We've got the plastic IBC totes collecting rainwater off of a chicken coop, and 4 of those are full, and we have a couple more on the side of the barn. Those are full. Again, with a little bit more maybe time and money, systems would be better. But the water side of things, our well is not too deep, so we do have to be careful about how we're managing the water, and that's where thinking ahead really comes through. What were the other 2?
3 is shelter, and then 4 is surplus.
Yeah. So shelter, space is tight. So I don't want to get too much into the personal stuff.
No, it's just in terms of securing, like you're securing your shelter is enough.
Yeah,
and
we are.
it's a multi-generational home as well, which is really good. So
Yeah, and there's shelter for all the animals.
Yeah.
And there was a 3-story dairy barn that when they moved onto the property, my in-laws, when they first bought it, like 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, that fell down. And so where the chicken coops are and where some of the beehives are, we converted some of those stalls into the chicken coops. And, just using what exists and saying, all right, this is a solution for the chickens, and other things. We can even have gardens up there too. But yeah, things take maintenance. I always just think, the more you do, the more work you create, and things have to be managed. To me, it makes a lot of sense why I think so many people don't try. Like a lot of people would like to do more, but it seems overwhelming, or they're just unsure of what things might turn into. But I have no regrets. Anyway, the surplus. One of my favorite things to do is just, we've got somebody will come over for a horseback riding lesson. My wife is an instructor and trainer. Excuse me. And friends, just offer them a little bit of meat. Oh, do you want to go out in the garden and pick some stuff? Or, hey, if you help us weed our strawberry patch, take a whole bunch of strawberries home with you. Some people even, there's a church down the street, and we're friends with the whole family. Actually, their son worked for me this year, and he was great. His mom stopped by the other day to help pick tomatoes because she knew my wife was pregnant and it's hot. So she took my kids out there, and they're out there picking tomatoes, and we give them some food. And I mean, there's just but not with everything. So, my pears or plums didn't do well this year. But everything else did pretty much. Um, so the surplus is yeah, it's I don't know if we have a surplus of energy,
That'd be nice. Surplus of
but
time.
maybe more than I'm sorry.
Yeah, it'd be nice to
Yeah,
have extra energy and time.
yeah, but yeah, I feel like maybe we do more than most people because we are doing a lot, and we're not sitting around watching television, and we eat pretty good. Yeah, I love hearing people come over. Well, invite them. Hey, we could use some help on the farm, and we'll feed you lunch. We'll send you home with some stuff, and they sit down to the table and like, wow, this is the best X, Y, and Z that I've ever had. This is just how we eat. This is just what real food is. It's a little scary hearing that sometimes.
Well, unfortunately, for the majority of people, that's what it is. Even myself, like I don't. I'm still doing most of my job. Well, the vast majority of it.
Yeah,
I'll still buy off other people. Like I'm not farming, so it's. I think it's a reality for most people.
it is. Yeah. So one of the things I'm trying to network with people about is some of the properties that we manage. Um, there's a lot of production there. There's a lot of produce, and try to figure out ways to get that into the local food economy. So I just made a connection with a local CSA farm, and they apparently are tied in with somebody who knows a lot more about that. So looking forward to making that connection and seeing what more can be done on that front. Um, it's really cool to meet some of these people who have the resources to plant all these things and to pay somebody to manage it, and are happy with sharing the abundance that they have, or just donate it, whatever. um you just never know where that is, when that's gonna occur. You meet these people, and all of a sudden things just start happening, and yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's the power of community. Um, so you do design work as well. Do you do digital designs or do you do sketches?
So I do sketches, and my buddy Tim converts them. um I went to college with his wife. We met and became friends, and I know he did a lot of this kind of stuff, and he works with a lot with some people from Thrive Lot too, and uh, yeah, when I sit down in front of a computer, it's just I'm better off not being in front of technology sometimes. Yeah, I would like to. Maybe I will more, especially as things change with the business. But yeah.
Well, and what is the plans of the business? Just before that, you're on YouTube, aren't you as well?
I'm sorry.
You're on YouTube. Do
Oh
you
yes.
want to tell us about that content creation and how that helps you or hinders you?
Well, yeah, I basically avoided any sort of online presence besides my website for a while, and then I heard enough people telling me, yeah, you really need social media, and you should be making more content if you want to get more of the business that you prefer. So I said, okay, so I'll do that, and it's a little tough. My wife primarily managed that, and yeah, it's I think our Instagram is Grow Backyard Pantry. We also have TikTok, and the YouTube is My Backyard Pantry. And yeah, the videos are a little random. Some of it might be just some tips and tricks. Some of it might be us cooking up some food, out there harvesting. Maybe it's me out on a project talking about something cool that I'm seeing or something that I'm doing. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of work. to manage that side of things. So again, as the business grows, I hope that somebody comes alongside who is better at that and kind of can take that off of my wife. And because as I learn to be more effective with what I'm doing, I'm sure I'll be able to do more myself too. But yeah, it's we can only do so much with all of the stuff we have going on, and it can get stressful quick.
Yeah, I think it's always it's like a catch that you can't really afford to pay someone to do it up front, but then you have to do it yourself in order to raise the money, in order to pay somebody. That's like,
exactly.
and then
it's just like can I at least break even? Yeah. But then it's not necessarily breaking even because it's helping somebody else too. So it is worth it. I've done a couple interviews too. I would like to do a little bit more of that and to kind of just go around and highlight what other people are doing. So there's an interview with my friend who's a farmer and another guy who's a property manager and a hunter. Those are really neat. People could check those out. I'm sure they would enjoy them.
And what's the plans for the business now? Is there anything going forward?
Yeah, so the shorter term goals are to get more design and install work so that I can keep a crew on full time as a salaried position rather than just having temporary seasonal work. I would like to offer more security so that people who really enjoy this can stick around and grow with the company and have their lives change and transform into cool ways and to put the right people in the right places. Big picture thinking, I would like to be helping to influence larger scale projects, municipal size projects, as well as excuse me, community development. I've had a lot of people talk with me about, I guess the word intentional communities, whatever you want to call it. There's different developers in different parts of the world where they come in and buy some farmland and then they build this random suburb that really it's a place for people to live, but it's not a community, I would say. So really developing those intentionally so that there's more food production, more neighborly neighbors, mom and pop shops, a mechanic. Just have, what I would say is very traditional lifestyle where all of our ancestors were familiar with these types of things, but now we're also spread out that we don't really have a sense of community and everyone has to drive so far to get what they need. So that's the bigger picture, is more development.
Yeah, I worked. One of my first designs was for. It was. Yeah, well, I suppose you could call it an intentional community, but they had a shared area where there was a restaurant, farm to fork restaurant on a farm, and then they had like 50 1 acre lots where each lot then would grow their own food, and so they'd have now it was high end stuff. So it was like each lot then 1 acre lot had a house and you grew your own food, and then you had like the farm then sort of so between the farm and your own lot you were more or less self-sufficient within this. I think it was like 50 or 60 houses in there.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever got done, but it was designed.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's challenges to all of that too, because it sounds like a great idea, but also interpersonal differences do come into play, right? So that's something that has to be worked with, and yeah, that's a whole multiple podcast.
Yeah,
Talk.
I'd say I done a course on I can't remember. I think it was a social permaculture course, and the guy on it, Alfred Decker, he's been on the podcast and he's lived in these different communities, and it's just the interpersonal relationships often cause problems.
Yeah.
And it's relationships break down So these things happen.
Yeah.
And then it's so his whole thing then was teaching the methods of social governance. How do you agree on things? How do you come to decisions where if you get five people and five people, you're locked? Can you really make the say it's 10-9? You're forcing the will of 10 onto the 9. How do you balance all this stuff?
Right.
Very
Yeah.
tricky. I like Paul Wheaton's method. Do you know Paul Wheaton? He's one of the he's got a permis.com.
Mm-hmm.
He basically has like several hundred acres and he just dictates what happens. And then he'll give you an acre, but you have to abide by his rules. If you don't abide by the rules, he kicks you out.
Right. Yeah, there's what I've heard some people describe that style as a benevolent dictator. Right. It could work, right? So however I can help, that's my theory right now. But and that's why I'm happy to do the traditional landscaping. Well, not traditional, but work with more ornamental landscaping because I say, hey, what you're doing here is really good, and if you can help influence some of your neighbors and encourage more of this, then great. That's a start, right? But at least it's making a positive change in your life to begin.
So, last question. It's a bit of advice for like someone who's just starting out homesteading. If you had any advice to them, where would they start? So they've just moved on. They say a 3 acre property. Their house is sorted. Where do they start? How do they get going?
Yeah, I think familiarizing yourself with the permaculture basics. I mean, even just going on to Wikipedia and reading the ethics, the principles, understanding what zones and sectors mean, and really just kind of sticking to that. It may seem mundane and it's not sexy, but that's so critical because it's very, very easy to make timely, expensive mistakes. And that I've seen by doing this as a business and helping other people do this. I've seen so many people who have done something that they wish they didn't do, and it's to see the discouragement that it causes is it's just sad, and it's you have like one chance a season to try something, and you're spending your energy, your effort, your money. So sticking with the permaculture ethics principles, knowing the zoning, and then drawing out a map. So a couple tools that I like to use is just going on, if you're in the United States, using the web soil survey, the NRCS, USDA web soil survey. I also look at Google Earth. I use the Sun Surveyor map. I know sometimes I kind of speak with a lisp, so it might be a lot of S's. Yeah, so Sun Surveyor, to get an understanding of where the sun is at different parts of the year. So in my report that I send to my customers, we're always giving them a map of the winter sun and the summer sun, and using that to help place and plan your features, and just knowing that things are permanent when you're talking about roads and fences and buildings. um, People may say, oh yeah, I can always just move that fence. You're not going to.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, my father-in-law and I just this morning were ripping out a temporary fence that we had around one of the gardens because it is temporary, just T-post and stretch of wire, but it it gets filled up with weeds. So yeah, I mean that over the course of a couple seasons becomes more than just weeds. There are whole trees and bushes in there, and you're not,
Well,
So
birds come and sit in the top and crap and plant seeds there.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. I mean, it just the problem grows. So I'd say starting off with that and really just drawing out a plan, thinking about a budget, and where I where I have made some of the biggest mistakes is just being excited about acquiring some new plant and then not having the time or space to put it in somewhere because there's so much. I'm like, all right, knowing your limitations, right, and the ethics, like what's appropriate for me to do or not do. Yeah, it all just goes back to the basics, and I'd say that's knowing your budget and your capabilities, and thinking through practically each of those steps and principles.
Yep. So the Thai community does provide that kind of basic education. So if they wanted to go over there, what areas do you cover? Is it New Jersey, Pennsylvania? How far away to go?
So I have traveled outside of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I have family up in New York, so sometimes that makes sense, but I've also gone out to Massachusetts, Vermont. So I'm happy to talk with people if it makes sense or help make connections. But for the most part, around the Delaware River Valley, the Lehigh Valley, New Jersey, it doesn't take too long to travel from one part of the state to the other. So pretty much all of New Jersey. South Jersey can be a little far, but I've worked on some projects down there too.
That's great stuff. So it's Cooper Mountain Contracting.com is where you'll find Brandon. All the podcasts now you'll find on substack.com / at the Permaculture Vine. And we also have our own school set up as well. It's basically a podcast community. So if you want to talk about these episodes afterwards, they'll be posted on the community and give you a chance. We're in there every day talking and posting what we're doing in the garden as well. So if anybody wants to get involved with a podcast, that's a great way to get to know us. So we're going to move now to a Q&A on the tag community for those watching live. For those watching the recording, if you want to see this, if you want to join in the live shows with tag, join up with tag communities, and we'll be doing one a month. Brandon, thanks very much. Thank you. Any final words now for the recording?
No, I'm just glad to be here, and hopefully it's helpful for somebody. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you better, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'd shake your hand if I could.
Great stuff. So for those watching the recording, I'll see you all next week. Thanks very much for watching. And we're going to go now to the Q&A. Thanks, guys.